أصحاب المعالي والسعادة ضيوف الكرام السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. At the outset, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude to His Excellency Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan, UAE Minister of Culture and Knowledge Development and Honorary Chairman of the Pearl Initiative, for endorsing the second regional forum hosted by the Pearl Initiative and the UN Global Compact. I'd also like to take a moment to pay tribute to someone special who was recently taken away from us along with her dear mother and sister. Allah yarhamhum. Amira bin Karam was a role model for many, and her legacy as a selfless humanitarian will resonate for many generations to come. Amira was a staunch supporter of the Pearl Initiative's work and a dear friend. May God rest their souls in eternal heavenly peace. We gather here today at a pivotal moment in human history, but not for the reasons that you might expect. If we focus on the trend lines as opposed to the headlines, it's clear that we are living in humanity's most prosperous time. In the year 1900, global life expectancy was 31 years. A child born today can be expected to live well into their 70s. During the same period, global literacy rates grew from about 12% to 86%. And despite the massive increase in the world's population over the past 100 years, the percentage of people living in absolute poverty has fallen from 85% to less than 10% today. We're sitting on the cusp of a fourth industrial revolution that has the potential to exponentially advance human endeavor and transform our social, economic, and political landscapes for the better. Now, this way of looking at the world is not a case of blind optimism. I might be an optimist, but I'm not blind. To be sure, our world still faces many challenges. Violent extremism fueled by sectarianism and populism preys on an underemployed youth bulge and threatens to destabilize many communities. And within a couple of hours' flight of where we sit today, a growing humanitarian crisis is festering because of a vacuum in global governance. And this crisis will reverberate for many generations to come. Climate change and the consequences for our water, energy, and food security nexus looms more visible by the day. And governance challenges of the technology revolution, including cybercrime and digital disruption of jobs and skills, is something we're only just beginning to comprehend. However, it's also undoubtedly true that our collective ability to overcome challenges has never been greater. Contrary to popular opinion, the international community has demonstrated an ability to coordinate and cooperate on a raft of urgent global actions. Joint efforts to confront infectious diseases such as polio, malaria, and HIV, and eradicate others such as smallpox has saved millions of lives. The Millennium Development Goals launched by the UN in 2000 achieved a number of notable successes, particularly in global education, hunger reduction, and development cooperation. Last December, world leaders reached a historic agreement in Paris to take action to address the existential threat of climate change. And in January of this year, the world's new Sustainable Development Goals officially came into force, with the unanimous endorsement of all 193 UN member states. Now, what's uniquely different about the SDGs' inclusive and holistic approach is just how clearly the role of business has been articulated in this new agenda. We're no longer just part of the solution or simply a donor for other sectors' projects, but we're an essential component of humanity's vision for a more sustainable world. Now, the SDGs are also designed to empower us to think globally, but act locally. And this is a key objective of this forum, to lift the SDGs off the page and make them relevant, practical, and a strategic priority for all types of businesses across the Gulf region. Each of the 5 pillars of the SDGs is of fundamental importance to our region, our people, and crucially, our businesses. So here are the 5 Ps. People, our greatest natural resource. But we mustn't take this for granted. We must harness the collective creativity, passion, and determination of our young women and men to create the future we want to see. Without mobilizing this strong human capital, we're nothing. Then consider the planet. There's no longer a debate here. Our region's vision for sustainable development utterly depends on the private sector's ability to integrate our economy, society, and our environment. The failure of one is a failure of all. Prosperity, not just creating it for ourselves, but for our employees, stakeholders, and the communities we belong to. Current growth patterns simply aren't providing enough decent work, especially for youth in need of adequate skills and training. Business has a unique role to play in embracing technological change and globalization to promote equitable prosperity. And if we do this, we will build resilience within our societies and economies. Peace. What's business got to do with peace? Everything. Because while businesses can't stop conflict on our own, we can help to create the social and economic conditions to prevent conflict by providing people with the opportunity to meet the needs of their families and the all-important hope for the future. And finally, there are successful partnerships, the magic glue that creates a shared sense of purpose. It's far too common for us to be working in our own silos. And while effective models for public, private, and people cooperation can be found, we need to stop pretending that we're working together and actually start doing it. The Pearl Initiative is merely one example of a partnership with a purpose. When we, a growing group of businesses from across the Gulf region, teamed up with the UN system to promote a culture of corporate governance, we did so for one very simple but important reason, because it makes business sense. And that brings me to another important goal of this forum: to actually strengthen Gulf businesses by validating the intrinsic links between corporate governance and our own sustainability, and to apply those principles in our day-to-day operations. That's where the rubber hits the road, ladies and gentlemen. It's in our enlightened self-interest as a business community to make the leap from traction to action. And that's why we're calling on Gulf business leaders here today to take the business pledge and make a public commitment to advancing the principles of sustainability in your companies. Now, we'll be talking more about the business pledge later on, and I'm sure a lot of us are feeling a little pledged out. However, what makes this commitment different is how we intend to hold ourselves accountable. We're not going to expect you to tick boxes or publish attractive reports. We're asking for those people who take the pledge to commit to providing an annual in-person update to university students from the region on the recent actions that you've taken in the interests of governance and sustainability. In fact, please join me in expressing a very warm welcome to all our students in the room today. Why students? Because they have much more at stake in these decisions and actions than we do. Very soon, they will be the ones that benefit or the ones that will have to pay heftily. And the least that we can do as business leaders is to stand up and own what we did to make our world, their birthright, a more sustainable place, socially, economically, and ecologically. So please take a look at the pledge. You'll find it in your Pearl Initiative app, which is free, and pass by the booth which we have outside. Ladies and gentlemen, the difference between what we are doing and what we are capable of doing can solve all of the world's problems. And what you do today can improve all your tomorrows. And at the risk of being sued by Nike, just do it. Thank you.